Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. making a snack today. gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack.
Howdy how, folks. How's it going today? Welcome, welcome. Yeah. So, happy Thursday. Thank you for the birthday well-wishing, folks. Thanks so much for being here today for a very special episode of Tactical Snacking with Decay. Today is a special occasion, not just because it's my birthday, but because this particular stream has been talked about and I've been meaning to do for quite a while because of the subject matter of MAYO Soup. How it came to be, as well as its involvement with my brunch with Unleash the Archers. So, hey, thank you very much, Scott2572. Lumpy Pickle, AJ, thanks so much for being here today, folks. So before we kind of dive into everything, this particular recipe is going to take a little bit of time. The base stock, hey, thank you so much, Squire Creamsicle. The stock's going to take about an hour, and so I'm going to get that started ASAP, and then that way we can kind of talk through everything while that's going on. The recipe command should be working. The menu command is working. The full recipe is actually up on the Discord. I had to actually recreate it because the copy that I had made, I cannot find. It was not on my computer, and I could not find the hard copy, so I kind of had to recreate it from memory, and you know what I did. So if you're playing along at home, what we're doing is, let's see. Hey, I see Nick Wolf. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome. Let's see. So, hang on. Come on. All right. There we go. So there's the link for the recipe. The stock that we're making for the MAYO soup, it's a, think of it like a clam chowder, so it's on the creamy side, and because of that we need a kind of a fish stock base that we're gonna mix everything into. On the recipe you'll see that I have listed down there a number of ingredients, not the least of which is 30 grams of kombu, 30 grams of these dried anchovies. This particular fish stock, I when I came up with it, I went with sort of an East meets West mentality, because I figured, you know what, who makes fish stock better than anybody? The Japanese and the Koreans. And so I took, you know, French training and, you know, Korean stuff. Hey, AJ, thank you so much for the gift sub for a Scenic Wolf. And we're putting them together. So we've got the dried anchovies, and these are the small guys. If they were larger, then I would want to take out the heads, and there's like the little bit of guts in there, but because they're smaller, these aren't going to be super bitter. I got a couple of dried shiitake mushrooms. There's a bay leaf there. And on this end of things, I've got half a carrot, half a celery stick, half of a medium onion, some garlic cloves, a couple of sprigs of parsley. Oh, and there's some black peppercorns that are in there too. And then I've got some Korean radish here that's going to go in. So because this is only going to steep for about an hour or so, the vegetation I'm going to chop up, and then we'll put everything into the pot. So I've got the induction burner going. Let's see if this will actually obey my command. Let's see. Okay, so you can see a little bit better. But because it's only going to be there for a short amount of time, I actually kind of want to chop these things up a little bit more. So then that way we get maximum flavor extraction from them. The parsley I'm not too worried about. That'll just snap in half for kind of that. The garlic, literally just getting smashed. The onion and the celery, I'm just running the knife through it in order to make some chunks. This is about 4 ounces of Korean radish, which I had posted earlier to, well, basically everywhere, that I was pickling some of this radish for Saturday to make chicken moo, aka the pickled Korean radish that accompanies Korean fried chicken. That jar is here, and so I've just had it sitting on the counter because it was hot. And then lastly, for the onion here, I'm just, again, got the onion. Now I can take the lid off of this because it should be at just the right temp. We'll double check that real quick. Yep, right where I want it. Then all of this is just going in, and then we will set a timer for an hour. And then we can chat for a little bit. So in the recipe, if you're looking at it, I think I specified like 160 Fahrenheit or something like that for the steeping temperature for everything. And the reason for that is because they've found that around that temperature, you get sort of the maximum flavor extraction from the giant kelp and the anchovies, because the two of them together with these dried shiitakes, that is going to provide all the natural MSG and umami goodness that we want. And so we want to extract as much of that as possible into this stock. And then I'll put the lid back on there. And now we've got a few minutes to where we can catch up. Oh, I really should set a timer. And let's There we go. Come on. How's that? Can you hear me now? Hey, Night Songs, welcome. Is it still muted? Better now. Okay. For some reason, I don't know why it muted, but anyways, so here we are. Okay. We're back. Everybody can hear me. Yeah, I know my mime skills. Okay. Night Songs 86, welcome, welcome. So anyways, as I was saying, while I was totally muted, if you've been a part of the online communities surrounding the band Unleash the Archers, specifically in either Grant and Andy's streams, the two guitarists for the band, or on the Discord, you will have been exposed to the two memes that kind of popped up. I'm not 100% certain on the origins of the Mayo meme. I believe it came about because of a country song that Andy was writing about spiders and something or other. But there was a thing about spider egg mayo, and mayo just kind of became a thing. Around the same time, on Grant's stream, he started doing country mayo. Okay. So now, I've been told that there's a song. There have been people that have said that they had a copy of said song. I have yet to hear that song. But then on Grant's stream, this took place around May, June last year. He decided to do this thing called Soup Selfies to go along with the meme about buying clothes at the soup store, which is on. You can find it on YouTube. It's from Code Geese, and anyways, it's a really funny little video, and it just became a thing. And so people started taking selfies in the soup aisle, and for every soup selfie that was posted, Grant would donate a can of soup to the local food bank, and so it became a thing. And around that time, oh, no kidding, Lumpy Pickle, you watched the stream where Andy wrote and recorded it. Oh, man. See, I need to hear this song. I really do. But around this time is when I found them on Twitch and found them on the Discord server. And that's when I started becoming active, was kind of around this time. And over the course of, a few months and, these memes happening, the idea of, well, put them together into MAYO Soup, and it just kind of became this running joke about MAYO Soup. This is where things get a little fuzzy for me. And I only say that because there was somebody that I had been kind of whispering back and forth with on Twitch that had sent me a link to a recipe for MAYO Soup. Or soup with mayonnaise, something to that effect. And I remember reading through it, and it wasn't horrible. I thought, I'm like, okay, this is actually kind of a workable idea. This is something that, I could probably make happen. But the recipe itself, there was a few things that I took issue with. One, they were making mayonnaise with olive oil, which I was just like, that is going to just totally overpower the flavor of the soup. And I'm like, that's no bueno. We can't do that. But then they also took kind of the traditional sort of French approach of making the fish stock using fish bones and the regular mirepoix and everything else. But again, I thought, hey, the Japanese and the Koreans make fish stock all the live long day. Why not incorporate that into this? And so, at least in the back of my mind, MAYO soup was a definite possibility. But it was kind of put on the back burner. So this is how we're kind of getting to the brunch portion of my brunch with Unleash the Archers. So at this point, I've been kind of making myself known. I've been becoming a regular on their streams. I've been becoming a regular in the community and making friends like AJ and Lumpy Pickle, for instance, two of the first people that I really got to know and communicate with. And also Queen Bethulu, aka Beef, Queen of the Mayonnaise. She was also one of the first people that I kind of got to know and friendly with and everything else. But in the course of doing this, inevitably in the chats we'd start talking about food. And I'm like, oh yeah, I like, AJ and Lumpy Pickle, a little bit sus, AJ. We'd start talking about food. I'm like, oh yeah, what about this? And I made this, and just kind of whatever. And I'd started posting pictures on the Discord of dinners and stuff that I made, and, things like that. Just, kind of normal stuff. And around that time, the band had announced they were going out on tour and announced a whole bunch of dates. And hey, Happy Batty, welcome. Yes, we're making cursed food today. So they're going out on tour. They're coming through my town. I'm like, okay, I'm going to the show. We have tickets. And at the end of one of Grant's streams one day, Mrs. Hueso had come home from work, and she's like, hey, offer to, cook for him, whatever. And so I'm like, okay, yeah. So I threw it out there, and I'm like, hey, by the way, when you guys roll through town, I would love to cook for you. Never in a million years did I think that it'd actually take me up on my offer, because bear in mind, this is mid, COVID, a lot of precautions, just all sorts of things. And so I figured, okay, they're, as a working band, are having to look out for themselves, look out for their health, so then that way they could continue to tour. And so I genuinely thought never in a million years that they'd take me up on this offer. But right before they were going to leave, right before they did leave, at the very end of one of Grant's streams one day, he said, oh, hey, by the way, talk to the band, and yeah, we're down to come to your house for food that day. Which was a huge, I'm sorry, what's happening? Things slowed down, tunnel vision, and I'm like, okay, this is a reality. This is actually happening now. And as soon as he was done, I immediately texted Mrs. Hueso, and was just like, okay, I'm like, by the way, the band's coming to the house. Okay. So at this point, we're 4 weeks out from them actually coming to my home. So in between that time, I had messaged Grant on Instagram a couple of times, just kind of just little things, nothing really big. But after I made that initial offer, I messaged him and I was just like, hey, just as an FYI, I am in fact a trained chef. I am familiar with and safety certified for food handling and preparation for groups. I know how to work with, special dietary needs and allergies and sanitation and kind of all this. I mean, this is part of my background and my training. And so I have this understanding, and I conveyed that to him in the message. And I said, hey, whatever works. To be honest, I figured that if they were to take me up on it, it'd be one of those things that'd be kind of like a catering gig, and I would make everything, take it to the venue, and kind of set it out for them and let them eat on it and things like that, and then, you know, that was gonna be it. So no, never expected that, oh yeah, we're gonna roll up to your place. And so that's when sort of the panic initially set in. Mayo certified, exactly. And yet you still tried to kill Grant, right? No. Well, sort of, but we'll get to that, AJ. So here I am, a month out, and this group of people that have found themselves together have created in an artistic endeavor music that has brought me many hours of joy, and that I love very much, have decided to grace me with their presence. At least this is, you know, kind of how I've approached it. I'm like, I got a clean house. I mean, it's not like my home is dirty by any stretch of the imagination, but we have puppies. And so, you know, there's things like hairballs and stuff like that. I mean, it's just, you know, a normal lived-in home. But I immediately started making this lengthy list of things that I needed to do in order to get the house ready for these honored guests. Because, I mean, we've had people over, you know, all the time, and it's always, you know, it's always a good time, and it's no big deal. Like, but for me, this was a big deal because these are people that I have a genuine admiration for. And so it was like, okay, I gotta scrub walls in my kitchen. I gotta vacuum baseboards, mopping floors, deep clean all of the bathrooms. It involved doing yard work, not only basic mowing of the lawns, front and back, but I ended up doing some serious tree trimming to, there's a tree that we have out front. It's a big, bushy, ugly thing that I absolutely hate, but whatever. The branches were down almost to ground level, and they came probably about 12 feet out into the yard. So I literally took everything off till about 6.5 feet, got rid of all that. Did some major trimming to a Japanese maple that we have in back. In the process, there's a 3-foot cyclone fence between us and our neighbors, the Karens, as I call them, because they did in fact call animal control, because Vera likes to jump. So I put up additional fencing during this time. And so like every day it was a thing. Like it was, I'm working on projects. I'm like doing all this detailing in order to get just everything ready. But in the back of my mind, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, what am I making of? So I had messaged, well, I had asked in streams to both Andy and Grant, hey, Social Hardcore, welcome. I doubt what you have behind are all condiments. I have a number of condiments, but yeah, so I had a number of questions, and I said, you know, hey, you know, what is it? You know, are there any food allergies? You know, I needed some details. And what I find out was, oh yeah, Scott and Brittany are vegetarians, which doesn't tell me anything. Because there's, you know, a number of different types of vegetarians. And so it's like, well, what am I working with here? So I messaged Grant and I'm like, hey, we need to have a phone call. And like, I just need like 5-10 minutes. I have some questions that I need to get answered. So then that way I can make sure that everything is set and everything else. Yes, there is in fact seafood in the soup. There is, if you pull up the recipe on the Discord, you'll see that there's actually cod and shrimp in there. So I'm like, hey, you know, when we're like 2 weeks out or whatever, give me a call on the day off and we'll talk for, you know, a few minutes. Just so I can get some questions answered and we can figure out a menu and, you know, take care of business. At the 2 week mark, no call. For those that were following them, hey, you're kidding me. Welcome, welcome. For those that were following them while they were on tour, I mean, they toured 6 days during the week. They literally had 1 day off. And so I understand needing to rest. And so I was like, okay, the day passed. I'm not gonna freak out because there's still time. Then once it got closer to the next day off, I, you know, messaged them like, hey, I really need to have this phone call because I kind of need to know some basic things. Hey, Ivy Stupid, thank you for the birthday wishes. So finally, have this phone call, and it's honestly the first time that I've actually spoken to Grant, and ended up speaking to both Scott and Brittany on this call, and Mrs. Hueso was there for it. Now, bear in mind, I'm still in complete and utter disbelief that this is happening. I keep thinking that, you know, it's going to cancel at any minute, and because at this point, honestly, I'm just some rando off the internet. They've seen selfies that I've posted into the Soup Selfie, you know, thread, but I'm still just some rando. I'm literally this text popping up on screens because there's not been any actual interaction as of yet. But this is the first time that I've had a chance to talk to them. And it was a productive conversation, and it was a very fun conversation. So it's Randalorian. Nice, I like that. Yeah, it was... It endeared me to Brittany even more so. It was, I'll just leave it at this. It was a very fun conversation. But what came out of it was that there aren't any actual food allergies. In terms of dislikes, Andy's not a big fan of kind of button and cremini mushrooms. He prefers, you know, exotics. No problem, I can work with that. It's not like an allergy or anything, it's just, you know, preference. I'm like, okay, good. This is stuff that I wanted to know because I was like, hey, is there anything that you guys have been craving? Is there anything that you hate? What kind of allergies are there, if any? What about special diets? Hey, Mrs. Hueso's home.
Yep, a little early.
Huzzah. Welcome, welcome, baby.
I would have been a little sooner, but guess who came home?
I have no idea.
Jean.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she came home today.
Ah, our snowbird neighbor across the street finally came home.
Yeah, she came home, and out in her driveway is this total hood gangster looking guy. I was like,
oh, is he doing yard work or something?
what's happening right now? No, her car died because it's been parked all winter, and so this guy came and jumped it. How is everyone?
We're enjoying a Dr. Pepper.
Hi, AJ.
For the ASMR drink for my birthday.
And Happy Batty. And Scott.
And I Be Stupid. And Squire Creamsicle's here. Avocado
Squire
KitchenAid.
Creamsicle. And Kelly.
Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay.
So, but we were talking about, okay, so Scott and Brittany are vegetarians, but what flavor vegetarians? Because this is important information that I need to know. Scott's a pescatarian. Okay, great. So he doesn't eat chicken, beef, pork, but he'll eat fish and shellfish and like eggs and cheese. Okay, cool. Brittany is an ovo-lacto vegetarian, so no, you know, beef, pork, chicken, no fish, no shellfish, but, you know, eggs and cheese are fine. It's like, okay, great. The other thing that I did kind of in preparation was I remembered during one of Brittany's many interviews that she did where she talked about her voice and things that she does to prepare, that there are certain things that she does. So I'm like, okay. So I literally went and looked up like the charismatic voice interview. And there's a few other interviews that she did where she talked about how like she avoids dairy, no sugar, carbitarian. Sure, why not? Cola and root beer mixed equal Dr. Pepper. I don't know about that, Lumpy Pickle. Might have to experiment with that. I don't know. But anyways, trying to figure out, okay, well, what is it that she can and cannot eat, what she avoids, because she's got to protect her voice, and she, you know, does that quite a bit. According to, you know, my research and everything, and I did confirm with her, warm water or hot water with lemon. That's it. And so, okay, cool, we can work with that. And before the call actually happened, there was one night where Andy jumped on and did a stream from the bus. And during that time, I had kind of asked him, like, well, what is something that you miss? And he was like, oh, you know, like roast beef and potatoes, you know, gravy, that sort of thing. So I'm like, okay, so I kept that in mind. Asked if there was anything else that anybody was sort of craving that they had missed, because I'm like, you know what, hey, if I can make something that they've been missing or craving, then this is what I can do. And I mean, this was my mentality going into this. It's like, you know what, I have these skills and I can prepare good food. I may not have a ton of money, but I can use my skills to give back to a band that has given me so much joy. So I'm thinking, all right, well, what can we do? So I started kind of thinking through a menu and threw it out there and got the okay. So final menu that we decided to go with was, I ended up sous videing a couple of prime grade chuck roasts for 2 days. That came out like steak. Finished them off with my large torch out back, which, I mean, in retrospect, it was like, okay, it was kind of a show-offy thing to do, but at the same time, it's what I would have done anyways. So it wasn't like I was, check me out, you know, it wasn't that at all. It was literally, this is just how I do this. And so that was kind of fun. Did a whole bunch of roast potatoes, a big roasted vegetable medley. Then to accompany, so for Scott, since he couldn't have that beef, I ended up making a whole bunch of shrimp that I did sous vide because I had my immersion circulator going, and it's what I ended up using to not only hot hold the cheese sauce that I made, but the sour beer béarnaise. Béarnaise is a French sauce. It's kind of butter based, but then it has white wine and like white wine vinegar in it, flavored with tarragon and shallots. I make a version using a Belgian goose. So it's a sour beer. Grant was so enamored with that torch of yours, by the way. He mentioned it several times on stream since then. Oh, right on. Hey, I'm the Soldiers of Giants. Welcome, welcome. So, I'm like, I got the perfect beer for this. It was the Goose Marriage Parfait. I think it was, at that point, it was probably about 6 years old. So it had a chance to get kind of nice and sour. And I used that instead of the white wine vinegar reduction. It's a fantastic sauce. Love making it that way. The cheese sauce was literally... Actually, I have the cheese here now that I think about it. I've talked about it a few times. Beecher's flagship cheddar. It's made up in Seattle. It is a kind of a sharpish white cheddar. But made a cheese sauce with this using, you know, our good friend sodium citrate and milk, and that was literally it. 3 ingredient. Had a big old vat of it out there. Hey, beef! Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Beecher's is phenomenal cheese. If you can get their flagship, the used milk version, it's amazing. And they also make a raw version, which if you can get the raw version of it, it's totally next level. But usually you have to actually go to Beecher's in Seattle in order to find them. But I highly recommend it if you can. Made the cheese sauce. Oh, Grant's like, oh, I want, horseradish sauce. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. I'm down to clown. I will make you the most, Geneva Convention violating horseradish sauce ever. So I bought a root at the market, processed it, timed it to add the vinegar, so then that way it'd be at its maximum hotness. Little did I know that the root was a little older and wasn't anywhere near as potent as it could have been, should have been, would have been. So it was kind of weak and a little bit of an embarrassment, but it was kind of out of my hands. Yeah, no, I was literally I was expecting the UN troops to bust down my door for creating, chemical weapons. Because if I make horseradish, I'm going to make it straight up clear your sinuses, everything. Let's see, what else? Oh, so for Brittany, I did a crispy tofu and broccoli kind of a stir fry. And I had baked the tofu. Unfortunately, it didn't come out quite as crispy as I had hoped. But nonetheless, I had something for everybody. And when had everybody's bases covered, plenty of food, then there were the drinks. So not really knowing what all everybody wanted or was kind of thinking, I thought, okay, this is like a brunch, right? So what do you serve at brunch? Mimosas and Bellinis. Mimosas just being orange juice and champagne, Bellinis being just peach nectar and champagne. So I had a couple of magnums of champagne, nothing crazy or anything like that. But then I had orange juice, I had peach nectar, I had a couple of other juices that were out. I had a thing of just a nice sippable beer available if anybody wanted a beer. Plenty of water. I had literally all the bases covered when it came to food. And honestly, there was enough that if anybody left hungry, it was on them. Because it was quite the spread. I'm sorry?
No one left hungry.
That's true. Nobody did leave hungry. At least if they did, they lied very sweetly to me. I don't anticipate that they lied to me at all. But that was the menu, and we were good to go. So, yeah, disappointing not to have them crying for mercy after the sauce. I know. Honestly, I had it in a pint canning jar, and if it had been a nice, fresh horseradish root, the moment you unscrewed the lid, it would have cleared the room. Because I've made it that strong before with fresh horseradish, so much so that I'd take my food processor out back, so I'm not gassing the kitchen. Funny side story. Mrs. Weiss's mom one year asked for horseradish sauce, and I said, okay, fine. So I made it, and it was undiluted, and she it knocked her socks off. It was pretty funny. Then, so we added a whole bunch of sour cream to kind of tone it down for her. But yeah, if I'm making it, I'm making it, kind of thing. Let's see, where are we at in time? Oh, we still got a half hour. Okay, so quick pause of the story. Back to the recipe real quick. We got a couple of things that we need to do. We have potatoes that we need to cut up. We have shrimp that we need to thaw and then we'll cut up. The cod I already have thawed and we'll end up cutting that up before we put it in. So I'm going to get the shrimp out real quick and I'm going to get those thawing. And then back to the story. I just got a bag of peeled, deveined, tail on, raw shrimp. That's what I'm going to be using for this. It's what I used kind of the day of. Which the whole day of thing, in a lot of ways, it still feels like it never happened. Like it was just surreal. So, alright, I'm just going to measure out 300. A slightly heavy 300 grams because, you know, shrimp is good. We like shrimp. And I'm just going to get these into some cold water. And by the time we're ready to work with them, these will be thawed. So, thankfully, it's a quick thing. Alright. So I just left those over at the sink so they can thaw and everything will be good. So yeah, talked to Grant. T-minus 1 week till their arrival. Scrambling around, scrubbing toilets, scrubbing behind toilets, scrubbing baseboards. You can ask Mrs. Oiso. I was doing projects basically from the moment I got up until, you know, it was time to eat. And so I'm just like working like a madman, you know, trying to get things ready, just because, again, honored guests. And I wanted them to feel comfortable to the point where they didn't have to feel like they had to be anything other than themselves. Like they didn't have to put on any airs, they didn't have to be anything else. Because let's be honest, right? I'm some rando off the internet, okay? And the only interactions that I've had is, you know, by way of text and everything else. But what you see on stream, you know, sometimes isn't what reality is, okay? There's a number of streamers that's the case. It's like it's a character, you know? But for, you know, Brittany's streams, Grant's streams, and Andrew's streams, I never got the sense that they were anything but themselves. And so when they came, I wanted to make sure that they felt completely comfortable, that they didn't have to be anything other than themselves. They can just relax and whatever. And I said as much. I'm like, and, you know, one of the questions they asked was like, well, who all is going to be there? I'm like, it's just going to be us. That's it. This isn't like, you know, bring a whole bunch of people to look at the band, you know, kind of thing. It's, you know, very intimate thing. This is just so they can relax and, you know, not have to worry about so much. Yeah. So, okay, cool. Everything's great. Day before, after the Petaluma show, you know, Grant messages, okay, we're loading up, we're going to get on the road, we'll head your way. Because I was just trying to get an ETA of when I needed to have food ready, because coordinating a bunch of things is a lot of work. And there's only so much that I can do ahead of time. Until it's like, okay, I kind of know what an ETA is, and it's like, okay, we got to go and make things happen. And so for a couple of days leading up to all of this, I'm doing shopping, I'm doing whatever prep work that I can ahead of time. Got the chuck roast going literally 2 days ahead of time. But they were absolutely phenomenal. So coordinating all this, getting it all ready, get the message from Grant, okay, we're on the road. We'll be there, you know, roughly, I kind of expected them initially around 10 or 11. What I didn't realize was that the bus that they're on, a little bit slower than normal driving speed. Also, driving from Petaluma up to Portland is, it's a jaunt. And so I'm in communication, like, okay, what's happening? And they're like, okay, well, we'll be there a little bit before noon. I'm like, okay, great. Now, in the meantime, they had asked, like, okay, well, where is it that you are in relationship to where the venue is at? And just trying to coordinate everything else. And I'm like, oh, I live literally like 20-ish minutes or so from the venue. I'm like, it's really quick to get there. Yeah, it won't be an issue. And again, I'm offering to bring the food to them if needs be. But they're like, no, we'll come to you. And okay, cool. Here we are, morning of. I'm in the kitchen. I've got the little oven going. I've got the big oven going. I've got stuff on the stovetop, and I'm doing my thing. Finally get the call that, okay, according to the driver, we're going to be here at this time. Okay, it's go time. Literally, once I got the message, it was like, that was when I started. I had MAYO SOUP kind of going, like I had kind of the stock going, but I was like, okay, now it's time to actually make it happen. Because in the process of figuring out what on earth am I going to make for these guys, I was saying to myself, what kind of member of the Twitch and Discord communities would I be if I didn't attempt this MAYO SOUP, if I didn't attempt this meme? Like, I felt like I'd be letting down, my Twitch fam, my Discord fam. I'm like, I had to do it for everybody that couldn't be there, for everybody that wanted to be there, and, it's just, I had to make this happen. And I tried to keep it a surprise that I did it. I made MAYO SOUP. So right around noon on that day, it was a Saturday, here comes this large black bus towing a trailer that pulls up right in front of my home. And it was an absolute moment of surrealness. Because I'm like, they're actually here. This is actually happening. And so on the inside, I'm freaking out like a little fanboy. But on the outside, I'm just like, dude, be cool. Just be cool. This is the first time you're meeting them. Just be cool, whatever you do. And so I'm like, okay, cool, they're here. And so suddenly here comes Brittany and Scott walking across my lawn. Here comes like Grant and Andrew around the back. And here comes Nick, who I didn't really know too well at the time. I'd seen him on the previous streams, and I'm like, okay, he seems really awesome. And spoiler alert, Nick is awesome. Thus the reason why he was asked to join the band later. And yes, I did manage to be cool. I actually did, AJ. Okay, just I held it together. It was tough, let me tell you. But in addition to the band members, JJ, their sound guy, and their merch girl, I think her name was Stacy. They were all here, and I'm like, okay, cool. So set up on the back patio, had a couple of tables, had a whole bunch of chairs. I made sure that there was enough space in between people, so that they could be spaced. And, and one of the things that I kind of did to help make them feel safe and everything else was, in addition to, vaccinations and all that, I got tested the day before just to make doubly sure. So then that way they could feel as safe as possible. And in retrospect, I asked the question, I'm like, why on earth did they agree to do this? I mean, I know that part of their band culture is they love hanging out after shows and meeting the fans and hanging out and going out with with fans and things like that. And because of the COVID situation, it was not something that they could do. And so the fact that they came to my home was just like, what on earth is going on? Oh, but I did want, best followers and primes and stuff. Thanks for getting that, Lumpy. And so I asked kind of after the fact, and one of the things that Grant had mentioned was it was because I had expressed this concern for their safety and my training, and like literally before I started cooking, like I sanitized everything. Any cookware, any knives, any utensils, like cooktops, countertops, cutting boards, everything. I went crazy making sure that everything was clean and sanitized just for their protection. And that's what he said. It was like that was part of it, that I went to those extremes to make them feel safe, to make them feel welcome. And that was one of the big reasons why they took me up on it. The other thing, come to find out, that was really the only chance that they had to do anything like that on the entire tour. The way that their schedules were, they couldn't do a lot of extra stuff. Like, it was literally drive from one venue to the next, set up, play, take down, back on the road again. But because the club in Portland, they didn't have a load-in time until 4 o'clock. This was literally like the only time that they really could do anything like that. Anyways, they roll up. Here's, please come in, sit down, get a drink. Make sure everybody's kind of tended to. And yeah, like everybody's coming off the bus and, hi, hello, welcome. And, here's stuff. I'm going to finish this off and then start bringing out the food, and we're going to do it buffet style. I had it set up as a buffet in our dining room area that they could walk around, dish up, and eat and whatever. They were blown away that, that they had this spread. And it was, they were here for a total of 47 minutes. 47 minutes. That's how long they were here. And the only reason why it was so short was because immediately after leaving here, they had to go to PDX Airport to get COVID tested because they were going home in a couple of days. And I know they felt bad about having to cut it short, but in kind of planning and preparation and everything else ahead of time, I had... we had planned for contingencies. We thought, okay, well, if they got here, early enough kind of thing, and they end up hanging out for a couple of hours, like we had party games, like available, ready to go. I knew a couple of the members smoked. I didn't know exactly who. I set up a smoking area for them, so then that way if they wanted to, they could. We did a whole bunch of stuff just to, try to make it the best experience possible for them. But yeah, they were in and out in 47 minutes. So a little bit of real talk, real quick. Everybody was super nice. Everybody was incredibly polite. It was a very lovely experience. It was also a little bit awkward. But to be honest, I'm some rando off the internet. We don't know each other. And so this is the first time having actually met them. I mean, it was, that straight, like, hey, I'm just meeting you for the first time. That's really how it was. And so, I mean, afterwards, like, Mrs. Hueso and I were just kind of like, that happened. This actually happened. And that's when we ended up eating. We were like, no, let them eat first. But it was like, okay, this happened. And we're like, well, we're going to seat him at the meet and greet because we had tickets for the meet and greet. And we're like, we'll see him, a little bit later, and, it'll be fine. And so one of the things I forgot to mention is in a previous life, I was a beer specialist. Hey, Windier, welcome. In a previous life, I was the beer specialist for Whole Foods. And I've amassed a relatively sizable cellar of high quality beers. And I'm like, okay, I want to gift them, you know, some of these. And I had pulled out a whole bunch of very specific selections. I had them set up in our front room on kind of at the fireplace. Just so then that way, like, take what you want. You can take it one, you can take none, you can take it all. Whatever you want, it's just there for them. But because it was so quick, like, I didn't really have a chance to talk to, like, Grant about them. Like, I'd set out things like stouts and porters and sours and things that cellar really well that I knew that Grant and Nick and Andrew would really like. Ended up telling Andrew about it, and he, you know, grabbed a couple of things. But I grabbed one specific bottle that he's shown on stream of West Levetton 12. And this particular bottle I had been cellaring for a very special occasion. It's the only time that this beer was actually released in the United States. You can Google it. For the longest time, it was widely regarded as probably the best beer in the world. It's a Belgian Trappist beer. It is a quadruple. It's extremely hard to get a hold of. But this was a bottle from the one time that it was actually released in the US. And I gifted it to Andy for a very specific occasion. And when that happens, that's when he'll crack it. But I told him, I'm like, listen, I know there's a lot of stuff here. I know you guys don't have a ton of room. Take as little as you like, take as much as you like, whatever's clever. But I was going to be bringing him stuff at the meet and greet anyways. Like, I picked out a couple of slushy sours for Brittany, a couple of IPAs for Scott. I had a couple of Belgians and a couple of IPAs for Nick. I had some porters and stouts for Grant. And I had some sours and some other stuff for Andy. And so, like, I had a whole bunch of beer that I was going to be bringing to the meet and greet. And go to the meet and greet. Good experience, lots of good times. Hey, long time no see. Gave everybody their beers. Had my my flag. I have one of the 5x5 Abyss flags that I had them all sign. I forgot to have Nick sign it. I'm not even in this band because this was before they asked him to be a member, and so it would have been hilarious. But did the meet and greet, and we're like, okay, we got a few hours to kill before doors open. So we came back home. Fed the dogs, kind of ate ourselves, went back, went to the show. Phenomenal show. Just an absolutely amazing performance. The Twitch streams don't do them justice. Live is just absolutely amazing. And it was fantastic. I mean, highlights of the show were fist bumps from everybody, getting the signed set list from Brittany at the end. But then, so if the night had ended here, we would have been fine. We would have been, this is a phenomenal experience, this is great, and we're, you know, we can go home happy, job well done, fantastic, lovely people, huzzah. Porters for Scots and IPAs for Grant. I know I say Nick Wolf. Yeah, and that was the thing. And so leading up to all of that, like in their streams, I was asking like, hey, what are you into? What do you like? And that's when Grant had mentioned that he was into things like porters and stouts and kind of the darker stuff. And I gave him like a couple of barrel-aged stouts that really stiff. Nick, I knew he was into Belgians and he kind of liked some IPAs, so I grabbed a couple of local ones, and then I had like a cellared quadruple from AleSmith down in San Diego. It was part of their anniversary releases from 2012, which he just cracked. So that was a 10-year-old quad. But yeah, Brittany was into sours, and she kind of liked the fruity, slushy sours, so I grabbed a couple of those. And yeah, like I said, if everything had ended there, that would have been just fine. But that wasn't it. I've never really talked about it. I've only told a couple of people about this, and I know, at least from what I understand, it was only mentioned a couple of times, maybe once or twice in passing. So at the end of the show, they're taking their group picture and everything. Grant comes over, and to us specifically, and he says, "Hey, we're having an after party. You guys are coming, right?" And I turned to Mrs. Waso, and I'm like, when the band asks you to the after party, you say yes. Completely and utterly unexpected. And I never wanted to really talk about it too much, only because it felt like it was kind of a special thing, and I didn't want to. I don't know. I didn't want to make it ever seem like I was bragging or anything like that. What the heck? That was weird. Exactly, I seen it, and that's exactly. Yeah, it's like 12:30 in the morning. And we're like, okay, cool. We had no idea what this entailed. So we're like, I need water. We hit up the gas station that's around the corner there, got water, got some, Gatorade, and we're like, oh, we're kind of hungry. And at the back corner of the parking lot, there's a taco shack, and it's pink. It's a pink taco shack. So you better believe we were eating there. And so we grabbed some tacos, and we're hanging out and just kind of waiting. And then after, they do the load up and whatever, we're hanging out, and we're like, okay. So we're going over to this place called Weird Meadery that's in kind of South Portland, Milwaukee area. We're like, okay, cool. And they're like, so do you guys need an Uber or anything like that? And we're like, no, I'm driving. We drove here. Like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm like, we got room for a couple of people. And so I've got Andy sitting next to me in shotgun. We got JJ in the back seat with Katie. And we drove down to Weird. And oh yeah, the beer cooler came with us. The beer cooler was in the trunk. So the cooler I think was gifted to them by Raptor Man, maybe? I don't know. There was somebody else that was a little bit earlier that had this little igloo chest. It was full to the brim, and it came in my car. So it was important. Yes, the important thing. So like, okay, we're going down to Weird. Okay, cool. So we drive down there. And meanwhile, the moment I get into the car, my phone syncs up with the stereo because that's how I listen to music. And I remember, oh, we were listening to Abyss earlier. And so I'm quickly put on a different playlist kind of thing. But yeah, I'm sitting there chatting with Andy about food. And we're going to Weird. It was very surreal, but it was like, okay, we're just hanging out at this point. And Weird Meadery, by the way, if you ever have a chance to go, is amazing. It's kind of just underground level, but the interior is like what you would expect. The beginning of every D&D campaign ever where you meet at a tavern, that's what it looked like. The wood, the giant fireplace, the long wooden tables, it literally looked like that. It was amazing. Yeah, they had this music playing that is on any D&D games playlist. It was amazing place. And so by the time we got down there and everyone else rolls in, it was Unleash the Archers and JJ. Seven Kingdoms showed up. Aether Realm ended up sleeping. So they were supposed to be there. Yeah, WYRD. That's the place. And it was the owners, and there was 4 other people there. So it was a really intimate little gathering. And it was sit around and hang out. That's literally what it was. And it was amazing. Just getting to sit there and just like hang out and chat and because now it's like, okay, we're, they're past the having to play and everything is everything's good. Getting to just kind of sit and chat and be normal. And it was awesome. So, I mean, it was genuinely an amazing experience. I will say one of the most interesting pieces of, I guess, I don't know if I really call it information, but something that came out of it that I was kind of fascinating that I hadn't really thought of is, so as fans, you want to give to the band to show your love and appreciation. And so, like, people were bringing beer like crazy, liquor like crazy, which is great, good, and wonderful. But what I hadn't really thought of was the fact that they're in one small space with limited storage. And because they live in that space, it's like, what they could use? Things like red Solo cups, disposable like tableware, napkins, paper towels, wet naps, Febreze, paper plates, stuff like that. Like, that's the stuff that like they could totally use because they don't really, there's no facilities for like doing dishes. Like laundry is done kind of on a one weekly basis at whatever hotel that they're staying at. So exactly. So yeah, they had one fork to share. No, it wasn't quite that bad, but
it was almost. That's what Brittany was telling me.
Yeah, so it was pretty close to that, but it was one of those things that's like, oh, okay. So my mentality changed at that point. It's like, okay, well, the next time they roll through, it's like, okay, maybe like one nice beer for them. Something else entirely for Grant since he's abstaining from alcohol. But like, here's a pack of paper plates and here's some tableware and stuff like that. So then that way, yeah. So then that way it makes life on the road a little bit more bearable for him. And yeah. I think probably one of the funniest moments of the night for me was, it was like, oh, okay, well, we should probably get going now. Here it is. It's like 4 a.m. And we're, they took a big group photo and we're all just kind of like walking out and, hey, this was, well, no, we didn't, no. Was it 5:30?
Yeah.
I didn't okay, I thought it was like 4. But no, I guess it was like 5:30, but we're walking out and walking up these stairs to get out of the place, and like Brittany's kind of like right behind me, and I make this comment. I'm like, "Ugh, stairs." I'm like, "This is why we don't live in a townhouse anymore." We lived in one for 7 years, and I never got used to the stairs. And she's like, "We just bought a townhouse." I was just like, open mouth, insert foot. So it made me laugh, but it was just kind of funny. But yeah, dropped him off, said final goodbyes, thank you so much. And I can honestly say, especially like after everything, that the folks that you see on stream, that's who they are in real life. There's no difference between them. As you see them is as they are. And they're all genuinely lovely, wonderful people. And we said, listen, next time you guys are in the area, it doesn't matter if you're on tour, you're just passing through, you need a hot meal, you need to take a nap, whatever, laundry, shower, whatever. Our home is open to you. Just let me know. You guys know how to get a hold of me. And yeah, so it was a pretty amazing experience, and we have MAYO soup to show for it. Okay. Wow, that was good timing. Shut up. That's our time. Okay. I am gonna go get my oven mitts. And there is our East meets West fish stock that smells awesome. So we need to strain this now. There's this errant lid that suddenly decided that I'm going to go flying everywhere. Okay, let's see. Nope. I'm looking for one of those star towels. I had these, there's one. These super tight-knit tea towels that I use exclusively for straining because it's so fine. And so that is the look on her face when he put the mayo soup on. Yeah, when I put the mayo soup on the table, there was like, "Hey, Annie D, thank you for the birthday wishes and welcome." Yeah, I put the soup down on the table. They're like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "I made mayo soup."
I think they might have had a moment of regret, like, wait, why are we here again?
Yeah. Very good. So, but yeah, that was pretty funny. I'm like, I made it happen. They said it couldn't be done. They said it shouldn't be done, but I done did it.
Right.
They were right. No, the soup was actually really good, and like I had a really good feeling that it was gonna be good, but there's always that that little bit of what did I get myself into? So okay. I can. Now we've got this very nicely colored, nicely smelling stock that is going to be the basis of the mayo soup. It's got this great aroma. I mean, you get kind of the fish, but you also get the vegetation. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. And oh, that's good. That's got a lot of flavor to it. Okay. So thankfully, at this point, things are pretty easy. Our orders of operation right now is we have potatoes that we need to cut up and put in. We've got cod that needs to be cut up and put in. We've got shrimp that needs to be cut up and put in. And then lastly, we're going to take mayo and have it in a bowl, and then we're going to add some of the hot soup to it in order to temper it and mix it up before adding it back in to the main soup. And then that'll be done. And I have a couple of sourdough, mini sourdough rounds to use as bowls. And so we will Look, my sister says I have my free Prime ready, but when I try to use it, it won't let me. That's how I slept on here before. Oh. Yeah, who knows? But yeah, so we'll cut into it, and then we'll eat us some mayo soup. So thankfully, this is actually going to come together pretty dang quickly at this point. So we're going to turn this back on. And so now I put it on to boil. This is where the big test is going to come and see whether or not I blow the circuit. I shouldn't, because everything else is off. Hey, thank you for the gift sub, Lumpy Pickle. But if you read through the recipe, the way that I have it set is once it kind of comes up to the boil, you add your potato, you wait a few minutes, you add the cod, you wait a couple of minutes, then you add the shrimp, and then it's just a couple more minutes and it's done. That's when you take it off the heat and stir in the mayo. And then at that point, the last thing you want to do is, once the mayo's been added, you don't want to bring it back up to a boil. So then that way the mayo doesn't break. When I made it for the band, once it was done, I had it in the pot, and I had it in the container that I was sous videing in, because I had that set to 140 Fahrenheit to hot hold it until it was ready. And it was awesome. Oh, this is coming up nice and quick. Yes. Well, actually, I do kind of want it to boil initially. And then we'll add the potatoes. And I think I specified, once the potatoes go in, like 7 or 8 minutes, I believe. So we'll keep that handy. And then we'll bust out the cod, and we'll bust out the shrimp and get all those prepped and ready to go. Since these potatoes, the way that they're cut up, probably about 15 minutes and they'll be good to go. There we go. And who's on? Oh, Nick is streaming now. Cool. So when we're done, we'll go raid him. There. Okay. So I've got a couple of pieces of cod here that were previously frozen that I thawed, totaling about probably closer to 400 grams.
Potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
And so this we're just gonna cube up into consumable chunks. So yeah, all I'm doing is kind of putting this into a bigger dice. And this is cod.
Next
now,
step
this
is to
recipe
fold
actually
in the
works really well with
cheese.
things like monkfish, for instance, haddock.
What does that mean? What does fold in the
A
cheese
good
mean?
firm white
He
fish
folds it in.
will work really well for this. Or if you want to do like all shrimp, you absolutely can. The base recipe, I guess, came from Spain, and it was something that like the fisherman would make. Have a facial expression for every mood. Yeah, kinda.
We're talking about Schitt's Creek.
Oh, yes, he does.
That
Sorry.
David.
That David.
David.
Hi, Jane.
David.
What about the baby? There we go. Okay. So that is ready to go. Alright, let's turn that down. I got the power thing for reference. Okay. That'll be good. Alright, so now we need our shrimp. Excuse me! So there's still a little bit of ice on these, but that's not enough to be of any major concern. Let me have that ready. So these guys have already been peeled and deveined. All I'm doing is taking off the tail and cutting it in half like that. So let's toss that. And then that will be ready. Yeah, it was kind of funny. I mean, taking it out there. And I even said, I'm like, what kind of, member of the Twitch fam and stuff would I be if I didn't do this? Like, I would have let, everybody down. And yeah, what's really interesting is when it was done and I tasted it for the first time, I wasn't sure. Like, I had a pretty good feeling like, okay, this should, do you still use the username on your apron, or is it all tactical snacking all the time? Happy Batty. So, El Chupahueso is a nickname that I got back in '96. It's a nickname that I will always have, but for Twitch specifically, it's tactical snacking. Just so then that way, actually changed it from El Chupahueso to tactical snacking at the recommendation of Grant, because he recommended to change it up because it's less confusing if it's tactical snacking and that's the name of the channel. But I will forever be El Chupahueso, and I'm not going to get rid of this patch. I do need to order a tactical snacking patch. I think that Etsy store is making them again. So, but yeah. So the first time I tried it, I was skeptical, but I was confident. And yeah, I was really surprised. Like, it full on tasted like a chowder. We still know you as Chup. Yep, I will forever be El Chupahueso. On fried shrimp, you can eat the tail, it won't hurt you. Yes. Okay. So, the only reason why I'm removing the tail is because Mrs. Hueso is not a fan. I eat the tails, personally, but I remove the tails because not everybody likes them. Mrs. Hueso doesn't like them, and I love Mrs. Hueso, so I take the tails off. But yeah, I totally eat the tails. But I hate it. Yeah. If you don't like it, that's fine. Just means more for me. In fact, a lot of times, like if we get fried shrimp or something like that, and there's a tail, Mrs. Wesa won't eat them, and then I'll end up eating them.
Well,
Yeah, you'll eat the shrimp portion of it, but then I'll take the tail. Because it's just a little extra crunchies that I like. I have a vacation starting next week. I can't wait. Oh, nice. Oh, Kelly, are you still in here by any chance? Well, she was in chat a while ago. I just don't know if she's still here. The reason why I ask if Kelly is here is...
Yeah, she's there.
Okay, so Kelly, I'd like to introduce you to Annie D. Annie D, my sister Kelly. Both of you are cartographers. Okay, that's the timer. I got shrimp hands. Time to add the cod. Stir that in. There we go. And reset. 4 minutes. There we go. Let's turn the power back up so it'll come back to a boil. Yes, I'm aware that it's hot. Okay. Shrimp is good. Okay. Hands be washed. Water is still on, so I can get rid of that. Very good. Oh! Mr. Kingsley! What is happening, good sir? You have showed up on a most auspicious occasion, recreating the MAYO soup from your brunch visit. Andrew Kingsley, for those that do not know, is one of the guitarists for the band Unleash the Archers. Super wonderful gentleman who also composed my opening jingle. Yes, welcome, welcome, good sir. I assume that you and Nick are hanging out and writing music or just playing records and kind of having a good time, generally speaking. So far, this is looking excellent. I'm gonna grab a fork real quick. I want to test those potatoes. Okay. We are close. Good. I hear it's somebody's birthday. Yes, yes it is, Andrew. Thank you. Hey, Jack Daddy's here. How you doing, Jackson? Welcome, welcome. Nick's 20 feet away. Are you throwing things at him? So yeah, I am currently making... Yes, you did. You have the time off, because I figured you'd probably be at work right about now, Jackson. Yeah, making the MAYO soup. And right now we've got a minute to go until we add the shrimp. In the meantime, In the meantime, we're going to get our mayo prepped. So, what? Oh, Andrew, thank you so much. Dude, thank you for the gift subs. So the mayo soup sounds a little crazy, but think of it like a chowder, because that's really kind of how it comes out. The original recipe calls for making mayo from scratch, which I have done, but I'm going with the blue plate. Yeah, I'm going with the blue plate mayo. The bot got it? Oh, that's really funny. That is super funny. Oh! Alright, time to add the shrimp. Oh, snap! Ty's here? Yo, what up, Ty? Welcome, welcome, good sir. We're making a chowder, aka mayo soup. The meme that became a delicious reality. Okay. 3 minutes on the clock. Okay. Come on. Aw, thank you for the biddies. I'm using a new toy, my induction burner. Anyways, let's measure out 8 ounces of the mayo. Part of the soup that freaks everybody out, but that's okay. So our scooping mayo out is never like a pretty or easy thing. Okay, there we go. And then we'll just use the ladle in order to scoop out some of the soup and to temper the mayo. Oh, is it stuck? Let's see. Boop. There we go. Okay. So we got our ladle handy. I don't need this anymore. And there's the lid. That goes back in the fridge. And I'm gonna need this whisk. All right. Let's test that potato real quick. Okay, good. Perfect. It's almost like as if I've made this before, once. 20 seconds on the clock.
Pretty bold to try a new recipe.
Yeah, it was very bold to try and, try out something completely different purely because it was a meme. Mold in the Feo.
Next step
Sure.
is to fold in the cheese.
Fold in the cheese, David.
What does that
All
mean?
right.
What does fold in the cheese mean?
He folds it in.
Turning this down to keep warm. So it should be chilling at about 140 from at this point on. Okay. Since this is a stable emulsion, and adding hot liquid to it could potentially cause it to break, we are going to temper it by ladling out some of the hot soup and then whisking it in. So then that way it warms it. So then when we go to add it back into the soup, it doesn't break and become a big old mess. So, all right. So far, so good.
I gotta tell you though, careful when handling your nuts. I've put my nuts in here countless times. I even handle it with care, and they end up looking like this.
Peace and out, Ty. Hey, thanks so much for stopping in, man. You have yourself a good one. I gotta check out the bootleg video later. All right, that's looking nice and integrated. So let's move that. Now we can add it. We're folding in the mayo. There we go. Nice. Now we've got this really nice and creamy chowder. We got mayo soup, everybody.
Curious. Someone was afraid of mayo. Was there something else they could do?
Afraid of mayo?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were to make it up to this point before adding the mayo, you would have yourself a lovely fish soup. Hey, Wesley Crusher. Looking pretty watery. Yeah, it's not super thick. But it does have that kind of chowder flavor. And it's not overly thick. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of chowders that are just like, you know, totally sticking to it. And it's definitely not chowder. But no, it's mayo soup. It just happens to be kind of chowder-esque, I guess.
It identifies as a chowder.
Oh, that is tasty. And given the volume that this is, I mean, the amount of mayo that would actually be consumed is pretty dang small. Okay. So let's turn off that water. Because that's now good to go. Now we can work on plating. Sourdough bread bowl. Okay, so I got a nice big bowl that I'm going to put this into, and okay, just got a utility knife, so I'm just going to, you know, we're making a bread bowl here, so I'm going to cut it across the top. All right. Rip out its end sides. We're not gonna throw this interior away. I'll use it for like breadcrumbs or something. I'm sorry? No, it's a whatchamacallit. Edible bowls are the best idea, less dishes. True. Although, I'm still putting it into a big bowl just because, you know, I don't want it to go everywhere. Well, I think it's to do a DQ and get ice cream kind of night. Nice. That's a good call, Annie. Hydrogen milk as well. Possibly. Mashed potatoes, very nice. Mad with Power is a, it's kind of a festival. And Vera's running around for some reason. Mailman decided to roll in. Music. I thought you would approve. Now we can grab some more of that shrimpy, coddy, yummy goodness. Turn that off. Let's grab. Ladies and gentlemen, we have MAYO soup. The meme that became a delicious reality. That is like, oh, I'm hot. So let's, there we go. So now the fan can go away. Although hopefully the noise canceling took care of that. But, yeah, this stuff is like really nice. Like, I haven't added any salt to it. There was no need for it because of all the umami extraction from the kombu and the dried anchovies, the shiitake mushrooms, and then obviously the seasoning from the mayo itself. There was no need to, yes, absolutely. I second what Mrs. Weisel said, Jack Daddy. But let's see. We got some cod, we got some shrimp, we got some potato. Boil them. Dried anchovies is part of the stock. Yeah, dried anchovies is part of the stock. See, did that do it? It did. There's the recipe, so you can actually have a look at it. Vesely Crusher. Potato's perfect. The shrimp has a little bit of snap.
A few good taters.
Cod's nice and flaky, but not mushy at all. Make sure they put fish sauce in it for a nice little flavor boost. Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Andy D. Fish sauce is a fantastic flavor booster. Thinking now that I have this unplugged. Yeah, I know, right? Like, we really do need a bit of a stand. I was thinking what I need to do now. And now, you can. I should probably sit back by the fridge. That way, I'm actually kind of like on camera because I don't have. There we go. So now we got MAYO soup to enjoy, and now we can kind of start the mukbang portion. Buttery. Get some of that soaked up sourdough in there. Nom nom nom. Mm. Yeah, the shrimp aren't rubbery at all. They've got that, just a nice little snap.
Did you make the bread bowl as well?
No, I picked up the bread bowl at the market.
Good.
I could, but oh, you saw the Firefly stickers, yeah. And that one and that one. Got a shark on the fridge. Godzilla on top of the fridge. Yeah, I wish I had a taller chair. It'd make it easier to like sit at the counter and kind of eat. But yeah, it's in retrospect, it's really interesting just how much the visit from the band to my home changed my life. Because of it, I mean, like, I'm streaming, which I haven't been this happy in a very long time. In terms of like doing stuff, that's not no knock to Mrs. Wayso, nothing to do with that, but like work has generally been just a big bummer for a very long time, and this is something that's brought me quite a bit of joy. I've gotten a chance to meet all of y'all, and hang out with all y'all, and share all sorts of fun jokes and good times, and like honestly the community surrounding that band is amazing. And honestly, I really chalk it up to, more than anything, the fact that the individual members are also super awesome. I think if the members were jerks at all, people wouldn't care anywhere near as much. They'd still like the music, but they just wouldn't want anything to do with them. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Jack Daddy. It is a pretty amazing family. So it's been a privilege. Being a part of it. It was an honor to be able to feed them. I look forward to feeding them again. Many more times in the future, who knows? But part of me is thinking I should take some of that sourdough and just kind of like drop it in there anyways, because the sourdough mixed in with this adds like a little bit of twang. It's so dang good. Yes. Speaking of which, Jack Daddy, if you and Andrew have any requests, I know he's not a big fan of like normal mushrooms. I don't know if you have any allergies or things that you totally hate. But we'll be in contact. So you love mushrooms? Yeah. See, I love mushrooms too. But yeah, we'll be in contact. We'll figure something out, and yeah, it'll be a good time. Babe, yeah, with the sourdough, this is really good. I should make a bowl for you. I'm gonna make a bowl for you. No.
It's your birthday.
Yes, I am aware. I think my plan for the rest of the evening is I will probably have my annual viewing of Rock and Roll High School. That's kind of my own birthday tradition. Is 1979 Roger Corman flick starring the Ramones. PJ Solis plays Riff Randall. Clint Howard is in it, who we met, which that was a really funny story, and it was at this little taco place up in Hollywood, like outside the CBS studios. And when I saw it was him, I'm like, dude, I gotta go meet Eagle Bauer. And I go up to him, and I said, pardon me, sir, you're Clint Howard, right? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, it is a pleasure to meet the man that played Eagle Bauer. And the moment I mentioned Eagle Bauer, he lit up. And then he uttered Eagle Bauer's catchphrase that, well, Eagle Bauer is a name that stands for quality. And like, I totally like about lost it. And we chatted for a few minutes, and he was just saying, yeah, this is a great place. And he said, you know, funny thing about that movie was it's one of the few projects that he's ever worked on where he actually remembers like all of his lines. Yeah. So yeah, lemon cake. Yep, definitely have some lemon cake. Yeah. So that was really dang funny. So, anyways, well, folks, it's been fun. Thank you so much for sharing my birthday with me and hanging out and listening to my tale of you know, making memes a reality and yummy food and just being awesome people in general. Thank you to everybody for the bits, for birthday wishes, for the subs. Thank you so much for everything. Yeah, Nick is still going, right? Of course he is. He just started. Okay, so now the big question is can we raid him? Hopefully this doesn't freak out on me. Oh, did he?
Yeah.
G Money rolled in?
Yeah. The Mayo Soup is calling everyone.
The Mayo Soup called?
The Mayo Soup's calling everyone.
Yeah, the Mayo Soup is calling everyone. Hey, no worries, man. Yeah, we're just reliving Mayo Soup. And, talking about y'all's visit and just kind of everything. We're about to end, so we can eat and watch Rock and Roll High School. Excuse me.
Die.
Excuse me. That's what I get for eating and talking. Yeah. You're absolutely right, Accidental Chaos. It's one of those things that, like, when you think about it as an idea, you're like, wait, what's going on here, huh? But when you actually see it, you're like, okay, that's, like, if you didn't know what it was and you just tried it, you're like, oh, this is pretty good. Oh, Nick is ending too? Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. So if he's finishing, who's on? But, yeah, absolutely, Lumpy. That would be amazing. Like, get you up here. Get Andy and Jackson up here. We'll just have a big old party. Aw, Grant. Dude. Thank you for the gifted subs. Grant Truesdale, everybody. Other guitarist for Unleash the Archers. The dude without whom none of this would have happened. We would not have had Mayo Soup if it weren't for the soup selfies. Man that I am eternally grateful to. because getting to know him and Andrew and everyone else has changed my life for the better. So thank you, everybody. Raid Corey H. Drummer. Okay. Corey H. Drummers, that's where we're going. Sounds like a plan. Let's see. We got a raid message. And that should kick it up. Did it not? Okay, there it is. Just lagging for me. Yeah, honestly, thank you everybody so very, very much. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on Saturday for the birthday bash, Korean fried chicken. It's going to be fun. Thank you so much, Wesley Crusher. I know you're doing the double V for the Wesley, but I'm just going to go for the Wesley, if that's okay. Annie D, Accidental Chaos, Isanic Wolf, Mr. G Money himself, Grant Truesdale, Annie D, Lumpy Pickle, AJ, Isanic Wolf, Happy Batty, Accidental Chaos, whom I believe I said, anybody else that I may have missed,
All your family.
all my family. Thanks so much. Let's see if this will. It's thinking. It is thinking. It is thinking. It is thinking. It's still thinking. That's okay. It's fun. Let's see. Was it Corey? And now it's not even letting me type. That's awesome. Okay, well then that being the case, I'll end up heading over to Corey H. Drummer. Yeah, thank you so much, Grant. Yeah, oh, my chat's locked up on here. Well, let's try an F5. I don't even think. That's okay. I don't think it is. Wow, it's not even letting me close it. That's funny. All right, well, that being the case, everyone, take care. Oh, now it decides to close down. Let's see. All right, I'm going to send you out with the best jingle on Twitch, courtesy of Mr. Andrew Kingsley. Everyone have a wonderful evening, and I will catch you all in a stream somewhere if I don't see you before Saturday. If not, I'll see you all Saturday. Thank you so much again, everybody, for the birthday wishes. Thank you so much, Jack Daddy. Thanks to everybody. I'm going to send you out with, like I said, the best jingle on Twitch. Have a good one, folks.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making